We will keep this super conversational and casual, so feel free to, just ask questions. You don't even have to raise your hand if you want to get up and walk around because you've been sitting at your desk too long today. That will not bother me in the least. James is recording us today, so just know if you ask a question, it may be recorded. So if you have a question specific to an individual or yourself and you want to ask that more privately, kind of after this lecture portion, you can. But I'm Sarah. I'm an occupational therapy assistant. I work at the Wood County Board of Developmental Disabilities. So the Wood County Board received a grant from the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. For some reason I was going to say the Ohio Department of Transportation, which is not accurate at all. But DODD awarded us a grant that makes Wood County the Region 1 Technology Hub. And what we're doing with that grant is kind of threefold. So one of the things that we're doing is offering monthly learning sessions online on the We Thrive Together platform. And I know Sadie has attended some of those. So we've got handouts over there for them. They're on the third Thursday of the month, and anyone's welcome to attend. If you're familiar with the We Thrive Together platform, it's really intended for individuals served by county boards, but professionals, SSAs, day programs, high school classrooms have been joining, and it's really kind of a fun time to get more people involved in this conversation about technology. So our next lab brainstorming session is?
Yeah, in October it's social participation, and then we have other ones coming such as sensory, work, fall prevention, low vision, elopement, executive functioning, cameras and sensors with WinReef, and then ideas for carryover or collaboration of wrapping things up.
So that's one part of the grant. The other part of the grant is to do what I affectionately call our road show, which is what we're doing today. So each month we're visiting a different county board and doing these learning labs. And the learning labs are really tailored towards that county's specific needs. So today, Sadie and I collaborated and chatted, and she asked kind of for a basic overview of assistive technology with some emphasis on some things for safety. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'll spend a little bit of time doing a PowerPoint presentation. That's mostly for me because otherwise I would just get like real fiery about one topic and not give you a good overview. And then the third thing that we're doing, and we especially want to make sure SSAs know about this, is we're doing assistive technology consultations with folks that are even outside of Wood County. So if you have an individual that you're working with that you think would benefit from assistive technology, but you're just not quite sure, what technology and for what, we can do that full-blown assessment for you. We'll write it up as a report and send it off to you virtually. And for Sandusky County, Sadie's been attending most of those consults right along with the primary SSA, which has been great because Sadie is hopefully learning a couple tips and tricks from us. I don't know. I always say that I'll never claim to be a technology expert because as I'm standing here right now, something new is coming out that I don't know about. So one of the really great things about this grant that we have as the Region 1 Tech Hub is I am constantly learning new things from other individuals served by county boards and other counties because we're all just kind of exposed to different things. So that's me and why we're here. Along with me today is Amy. So Amy is an occupational therapy assistant student from Owens Community College in the Toledo area. Today's her first day of doing a clinical with us. So I said, surprise, we're going to Sandusky County. And we're gonna make her do just a very, very small portion of the presentation. And she's gonna do wonderful. And she didn't know she had to do that until like 10 minutes ago. And then Renee is an occupational therapist at the Wood County Board. She and I are office mates. So if we start bantering with each other, and acting like an old married couple, just tell us to knock it off. So,
a lot of time together.
But yeah, earlier we're like, we spend a lot of time together doing really ridiculous things. So we will go ahead and get started. So we hope today that by the end of our time together, you all will be able to define what is assistive technology, as well as remote supports. We're also hoping that we can identify at least like 5 or so tools, assistive technology tools for independent living, and at least 2 for safety. So we want to make sure that we really kind of do an emphasis on safety today as well. And then we also want you to be able to name some benefits of assistive technology. That way when you're talking to family or your loved ones about assistive tech, you can talk about like, here's why I think it really matters. So this is a quote that I always like to kind of start with to get us kind of centered and thinking about assistive tech. It says, To be successful at home, school, work, and in other environments, to achieve our hopes and dreams, and to simply get through each day, everyone needs assistive technology, accommodations, and support. And I think that quote just really kind of drives home the fact that regardless of disability or not, we all have support of others, of technology, of different tools to be successful throughout our days. I know I certainly do. So we're not gonna turn to a partner, we're just a smaller group, so we'll just share amongst each other. So think about your day up until this point, so it's 2:00 in the afternoon, it's getting to be closer to the end of the workday. So up until this point in your day, what are some tools or assistive technologies that you've learned or that you've utilized to get to this point in your day? You can kind of just popcorn answer, kind of shout them out.
We use a GPS to get here.
Yeah.
Cell phone for alarms?
Yep, cell phone for alarm. Who else has used their cell phone at least once maybe? And then everybody's got it within an arm's reach, right? So we use it for alarms, we probably use it for email, for texting, for making a phone call. Maybe we listen to music or an audio book or a podcast. So we use our cell phone for a lot of things, you're absolutely right. What else?
I used Zoom for a meeting and AI to take notes.
Oh, use the AI note taker. Isn't that fancy schmancy?
It is pretty good.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know this, if you're on a Zoom or a Teams or whatever other platform you use for your virtual meetings, that you can invite an AI, as artificial intelligent note taker, into the meeting, and it'll give you a little outline of notes. Pretty snappy, that's the word I use. What else?
I use an Alexa to it gets me up in the morning and I check the weather and I turn off all my lights in my house.
Yes,
And
same. I have Alexa in my house too, so every morning I'm like, what's the weather? How long is it gonna take me to get to work? Turn off my lights, yes. And at night when I get in bed and I inevitably have forgotten to turn the light off, then I can tell Alexa to turn the light off for me too, or dim it down. Anything else you all can think of? Okay, well, as we keep going, maybe you'll think of some more things. For me, I really am very dependent on my Outlook calendar, right? My email and my Outlook calendar. I don't know what I did before having an Outlook calendar. So it tells me where I need to go and when I need to be there and kind of who the meeting's with and what it's about. And I could not keep track of my day without that. So that's definitely an assistive technology that I use.
One of my saving graces for technology is the keypad entrance to our house and to lock my door before I left. I have a push start car and my keys are always buried in my purse every day. Like, gosh dang it. So now with this key code, it makes my life much easier to get in.
You don't even have to take your keys out at all.
Yeah,
That's
which
good
is
idea.
why I locked other ones in the car.
So the Department of Developmental Disabilities, DODD, has some fancy definitions of assistive technology. So if you're not familiar, assistive technology is any item, piece of equipment, or product system that can help you increase or maintain your independence, skills, and involvement in the community. And it goes on in the Ohio Revised Code to tell us even more. So I'm sure if you are someone that does the work of writing ISPs, you're familiar with some of that language. So all waivers provided by DODD have an allotment for assistive technology. So just keep that in mind when you're working with folks that Ohio is a technology first state. So we're looking at how technology can be incorporated into people's plans to help them be more independent. All right, so let's have a little chat here. So this first one up here is a smart speaker, such as an Alexa or a Google. Do you think that that could be considered assistive technology? So remember, we're going off of this definition, that it helps us increase, maintain our independence, skills, and involvement in the community. I'm seeing a lot of head nodding, yes. So what's something that a smart speaker could do to help me be more independent?
Alarms to take meds.
An alarm to take your meds, perfect, which is a great segue to this next device. So this is the dose medication dispenser. Do we think that that could be assistive tech? Yeah, what's it helping us do more independently? Come on in.
Take medicine.
Take your medicine, okay. Anyone know what this third one is on the top row?
adaptive fishing?
It is an adaptive fishing pole, so this is meant for an individual that, has a limb difference or unable to use a limb, and so rather than holding the fishing pole, it straps on a belt. So could that be assistive technology? Sure, it's helping that person fish more independently. How about these headphones?
Is it noise canceling?
They are noise canceling headphones, so yeah, right? It's helping me make sense of that sensory environment and process out some of that sensory information that's coming in. What about a yellow highlighter? How many of you think that could be assistive tech? Yeah, this is always the example I use when I'm talking about assistive technology. I'm like, assistive technology can be everything from our yellow highlighter that we can get for free on a conference table, all the way up to these really extravagant, smart homes or communication device. So if that Sharpie highlighter is helping me organize information and remember things, and is helping me be more independent with that information, then it's absolutely assistive tech. How about a visual schedule? How many of you love a good visual schedule, right? I love a good schedule for myself. Long-handled sponge, helping us be more independent with our hygiene and our bathing. Anyone know what this last device is? There's 3 of them pictured there, just 3 different colors. Anyone know what it is, aside from Sadie?
A life alert?
Yeah, it's a life alert, so it's a fall detection pendant. And we'll talk more about those when we talk some more about some of the safety devices. So here's a little bit more, kind of that legal language. Assistive tech is defined as an interactive electronic device, product system, or engineered solution that helps a person to meet their goals of independence, improving functional capabilities, vocational skills, or community involvement. Assistive tech can be purchased off the shelf. It can be modified or customized to meet the unique needs of each person. So we'll give some examples of that. Sometimes you're just buying something off the shelf, something. I don't get kickback from Amazon, but we buy a lot of things from Amazon. So you buy it off of Amazon. Or I'm buying it off of Amazon, and then maybe I'm adding like a handle to it, and I'm customizing it or modifying it a little bit. Or I'm adding some Velcro to it. I love Velcro or pool noodle. So I'm modifying the item. All right, we're gonna play a game. This is for imaginary bonus points. So assistive technology always requires a power source. So false? Okay. Good. Good. So we already talked about there's all different spectrums of assistive technology from low all the way up to really high-tech things. So you're absolutely right. Can anyone name a couple things that don't need any power source? So we've got the pencil gripper up here. Can you think of anything else that has no power source?
Some of your buttons or switches.
Okay, some of the buttons and switches.
Paper calendar.
A paper calendar could be assistive tech, yeah. Taught her everything she knows.
3 hours.
In the 3 hours that she's been. Anyone else have another idea?
Keychain.
A keychain? Yeah, or a key holder, Very good. Okay, assistive technology is a new idea or concept. False, you're right again. So assistive technology has been around for a while. We're just really starting to think about it more and more. And how many of you are familiar with the new Ohio ISP? So the Ohio Individual Service Plan. I saw one eyebrow go up at least. So the new Ohio ISP asks us in every section to consider what? Technology. All right, Ohio was the first state to place an emphasis on expanding access to assistive technology for persons with developmental disabilities. Was Ohio first?
I'm thinking no.
You're thinking no? You might be surprised to know that I put a fancy transition in there. That Ohio was first. So we passed the first executive order in May of 2018. So that was former Governor John Kasich put the Tech First policy and procedures into place for the Department of Developmental Disabilities. So Ohio was first. Go Ohio. The use of assistive technology should be considered in all Ohio ISPs. I already gave you the answer. It's true, you're right. So the new ISP, asks us to consider assistive tech in every part. And in fact, when we look at assistive technologies, we know that this can be a really cost-saving thing for the waiver funding and for individuals to consider using assistive technology. So we're going to get into some examples of assistive technology. We've got a lot out on the table and the countertop, so we certainly want to leave a lot of time for you all to ask questions and engage with those things. So Amy and Renee will take turns playing Vanna as we go. But we kind of think about assistive technology in different buckets. So we've got things like different sensors and different cameras, smart home controls, smart speakers, schedule and routine apps, mobility devices, fall prevention. Those are some of the common buckets, if you will, that we work out of. So there are so many different options for each of those things. So we're just going to really highlight a couple for each, but just know that there's lots and lots of different options. So individuals should always have choice of what works for them and what works, in their homes or their environments. So we're kind of going to go through different rooms of the house. So first talking about bathing, showering, and toileting. So when we think of in terms of safety, this is where we see a lot of tricky things happen. So when we go in the bathroom and things get wet, we're more prone to falling. Yeah. September was just Fall Prevention Awareness Month, so we did a whole round robin around Wood County doing fall prevention training. But yeah, the most falls we see are going to be happening in the bathroom. Also, supervision sometimes gets tricky in the bathroom. So obviously in the bathroom, we do private things, we get naked, and we don't always want that close and constant supervision, and sometimes it's not always appropriate. So we can look at a variety of different tools. So having a shower or a tub that I can just step into or roll into can be helpful. And we can consider that assistive technology or that environmental modification. There's all different sorts of bath seating. So most of you are probably familiar with a standard shower chair. Some of them have backs, some do not, some have arms, some don't. Some have a commode cut out so they can go over the toilet as well. Some have wheels, some don't have wheels, some go over the side of a tub, some do not. So you've got all these different combinations. But a bath lift seat is something I don't think people are quite as familiar with, that I really like it. So how many of you have a bathtub at home? I'm 42, and I will admit, I took a bath the other day for the first time in a while, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's getting harder to get in and out of the bath, like when everything's wet and slippery. So the bath lift seat, what it does is it's a chair, and it comes up flush to the end of the bathtub, and you sit in it, and it has a little remote control, and it lowers you down into the bathtub. So a lot of our folks still really enjoy taking a bath, but that transfer in and out of the bathtub can be really tricky for the individuals or for the caregiver. So just know that this lovely bath seat exists to lift you up and down, and it's just a solid piece that goes in and out of your bathtub. So if you need to take it out for someone else to use the tub, you can do so. Things like soap dispensers and product dispensers can be helpful. So hanging something on your shower wall that holds all of your products instead of having all of those bottles that are falling down on you. Or we see people use their grab bar as their ledge to hold all of their product, and then hold the grab bar for what you're supposed to anymore. Using a handheld shower head. So not only having that handheld shower head available, but making sure it's at an appropriate height so that if I'm sitting down, I can still use it. Oftentimes they get hung up so high, and then when I sit down, I can't get to it anymore, so making sure it's at a good height. They've also come out with shower heads now that change colors based on the temperature of the water. So if you have folks that have neuropathy or something else going on where they can't figure out what the temperature of the water is, they can use that color coding indicator to know the temperature. Also super helpful for our friends that are super sensory seeking and love those scalding hot showers. So the temperatures, if it's blue, it's cold, if it's green, it's kind of in that just right zone. If it goes red, it's too hot. So we can tell them, hey, you've got to take a green shower, not a red shower, because we don't want it to be too hot. There's all sorts of new types of detection and sensors coming out that I'm pretty excited about. So we're all probably familiar with folks being monitored, by camera, but now they're coming out with things like this, so the thermodynamic. What I like about this as opposed to motion detection, so motion detection is just gonna let me know that something's moving about in that room, but it's not necessarily gonna tell me where that person's body is at in space or what plane of movement they're in. As opposed to something like this, I don't know whether this person has clothes on or not, but I do know that they're standing and they look like they're pretty safe. Versus if that same person had fallen down, I could see like, oh, they've fallen, I need to go in and help them. So there's actually a remote support company out of Columbus right now that's doing a lot of research with that type of thermal camera. They've got a research study going on, so hopefully Ohio will be right on the cusp of making that more readily available for folks. We've already kind of talked about different chairs and things, obviously grab bars in bathrooms. Same types of things that we do at the shower, we can do at the toilet. So having seating available, having railings available. And then bidets are becoming more and more popular. So a bidet is a device that you add onto the toilet and it sprays water onto your bottom to help clean you up after a bowel movement. Very popular in Europe. And I think they're gaining in popularity here in the States and really can help a lot of folks be more independent for cleaning themselves. Any questions before we do our first spotlight? If you have questions, I'll talk all day unless you interrupt me. So you have to come up front so you're on the camera.
Okay, so the first spotlight of technology is BellX. So throughout this presentation, we'll highlight some technology we have here. This is, does anyone know what this is? It was on the pictures earlier.
Life alert.
Yep, so it's similar to that Life Alert. This is a little gadget here that you can wear as a belt clip or as a lanyard. They do have a variation also that you can wear as a watch. This is a fall detection, and it also has GPS in there as well. So if I'm not home, because I'm here with you guys, if I fall here, they would still be able to help locate where I am. And there is a call button too, so if I need some assistance, I can talk to them. This is one that we would get through a provider like Dose Health. And then when we get this, we would set up a parameter. So if I fall, are they going to call me first and talk to me through the device, make sure I'm okay? If I'm not okay, are they going to immediately call 911? Are they going to call a caregiver? So what's going to be the next process that we do if this detects a fall? Any questions? This would have a monthly fee associated with it as well.
Exactly what's
Yeah. Yeah.
Read your minds. So this is our friend Lugina. Lugina lives independently in the community. She's gainfully employed. She has a hamster named Butterscotch. She likes to go to Olive Garden for breadsticks. I don't know what else she tells you up there, but those are some things that I know about her off the top of my head. But Lugina had a fall detection system that she wore as a lanyard, and she didn't like that. She didn't like the way it appeared. She didn't like kind of her friends knowing that she had to wear that. She's fairly young, and there's a lot of stigma that goes along with like, oh, you're wearing a fall detection pendant. So she switched over to wearing the fall detection watch, and now there's no issue. She doesn't mind wearing that. She's been very successful watching that. And when she does have a fall, she's got that backup there that is calling that call center, and she's able to receive help if she needs it. So she says that she feels more safe wearing it. So some things for grooming and hygiene. You want a Vanna as we talk?
I do want a Vanna.
So universal cuff are just these kind of silicone slide-on things. We can put them on really anything that has a handle. So it can go on a spoon, a fork, a knife, a pencil, a toothbrush, a hairbrush, you name it, you can slide one of those on there. We've made them also out of just a strip of yoga mat and punching a hole in a strip of yoga mat. It's a really cheap and easy way to make them, or even like craft foam sheets that you get. And you can cut them down to size, or you can buy these silicone ones from Amazon or wherever you want to shop. I'm really sorry, I default to saying Amazon. I promise I don't get kicked back. They make adaptive holders for styling products. So I have very thick hair, and when I blow dry my hair, my arm gets very tired. Your arm gets really tired if you dry your hair. So they make a blow dryer holder, and it's just like a PVC pipe stand that your blow dryer goes in, and you can angle it to dry your hair. So I think I need to make one for myself. They make all sorts of long-handled devices, so long-handled hairbrushes and combs, long-handled nail clippers even, long-handled sponges for cleaning yourself. We also look at dressing tools, so things like reachers and sock aids, which are some tools that you may have seen before. I really love that they're coming out with different ways to tie shoes. So teaching individuals how to tie their shoes is so complicated. If you remember back, if you know how to tie your shoes and you remember back to learning that, there's a lot of steps that go into it. It's really fine detail work. So I'm looking around the room, hardly any of us have tie shoes on. Does anyone have tie shoes on? You can imagine it, okay, 2 of you in the whole room have on tie shoes. But point being, a lot of shoes have moved away from that, which makes life easier for people with disabilities. But they've also made adaptive shoelaces. So they make ones that are like little bungee cord. They make ones that magnet together now. So I get really excited when it's really small things like that, but then make this really huge difference. So one of our coworkers' sons is served by the county board, and he's like 17. And he has to wear work boots to school for the program that he's in. And he's a pretty independent guy. He was waking his mom up every morning just to tie his work boots for him. So we're like, why don't you guys try the magnetic shoelaces? So he ended up trying the magnetic shoelaces, and now he can get ready all by himself in the morning. He doesn't even have to wake his mom up to help him. So something as small as having the magnetic shoelaces has now changed the whole trajectory of their morning, that he doesn't have to wake his mom up to help him get ready. So I love when little like assistive tech things like that make a really impactful difference. There's all sorts of adaptive clothing lines that are coming out too. I recently learned that Tommy Hilfiger has a son with a disability. So Tommy came out with a whole line of adaptive clothing. So for example, rather than having to manipulate buttons, a men's button-down shirt will still look like it has buttons, but it's actually magnetic closures instead. So
We made our own with Velcro.
yeah, you can sew Velcro on.
Yeah.
That was my cheap $1 alternative. So our spotlight is, let's brush our teeth.
Yeah, so we have a few different toothbrushes to show you. So, and they're gonna be kind of hard to see, you guys can always play around these later. This is a 3-sided toothbrush, if you can see against my hand. There is a brush at the bottom and then on both sides. From an OT perspective, teeth brushing can be very difficult for somebody, especially with a lot of oral sensitivity, and it requires a lot of motor planning and problem solving. So this 3-sided brush, I can put my toothpaste in there, and I can just do the top, flip it over to the bottom, and I got a little bit more thorough than what they probably would tolerate anyway. So there's that option. Another option is this like mouth guard looking one. So it's on both sides. There are little bristles in there. So again, I just apply my toothpaste in there, put it in my mouth, do a little like swish, 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 and I can be done brushing my teeth fairly quickly. Another one that we found, we actually learned about this from doing a presentation like this. We're like, oh, that's so cool. This is called the Hum toothbrush. It's a toothbrush through Colgate. What happens is this works through Bluetooth, and there's an app that I can download on my tablet or my phone. And when I brush my teeth, this also is an electric toothbrush, so as I'm brushing, it will show up on the app of how thorough I was with brushing. So I could have completely missed my back top tooth, and it'll show me that. So it'll give me a breakdown of how well I am brushing, and like, oh yeah, I'm consistently missing this part every time. And then as you use it on the app, you also get points, and so you can eventually earn like free toothpaste or free replacement heads. There is that motivation too, rewards for using it. So, and these are honestly fairly inexpensive.
Don't tell them how much it is. I was gonna have them
Guess how much this costs?
Post this without going over.
$9.99.
Is this one of the travel days too?
Yeah.
$30.
$30?
57.
57. I was really hoping I could load and see how much it is today on Amazon. It's normally around the $20 mark.
Is it called Hum?
H-U-M.
It is a Prime Day, so it might be cheaper.
Oh, that's today.
Yeah, I know.
Remind me of that, please.
Oh, Alexa.
Well, I don't have her here. So as we continue on, we're gonna venture away from toothbrush, but has anyone seen like this before? Any idea what this is?
Toothpaste dispenser.
Yes, exactly. So all I do is just twist my toothpaste in here. We do suggest that if you were to purchase these, we get it off of Amazon, but read the comments to make sure that if you have a special type of toothpaste that it does screw in here and it will fit. But all you do is you screw it in there, you put your toothbrush in here, there's like a little lever I push, and as I push that, the toothpaste will come out. It's also vacuum sealed, so I don't have to worry about my batteries running out, and it also does a nice job of emptying the tube, so you're not getting like a whole bunch at the end that you're having to roll up or squeeze out. And then there are also just some natural things, toothpaste, that are coming out too. This is like a fluoride-free one. So if you have
Strawberry flavor.
yeah. So if you have someone that is trying to be a little bit more holistic, or they can't tolerate certain things, or certain scents or flavors would be better for them, they're expanding on some of that as well.
$17.45. That's the price today.
Get it. Run to Amazon.
After the presentation. We do a lot of work with health management, so some things that you all are probably familiar with are just your basic run-of-the-mill, I call them the dollar store medication boxes, right? They've got the days of the week, we can store our meds. But they've now started coming out with all sorts of smart things that can link to a watch or an app, so we can take our pulse ox and our heart rate and our glucose levels and my weights on a scale and have it all sync into an app. That way when you go and you talk to your healthcare providers, you can pull up all of this data and it's not just the one-time read. Like my blood pressure is always higher at the doctor's office. And I'm like, it's never this high until I get here and I'm not afraid of you. It's just something that happens to me. But look, when I took it at home, here's all my readouts of what it was at home. And she's like, all right, you're good. So we look a lot at how we can streamline some of that health management stuff to collect the data, which is so important for us as teams, but also to alert to things that might be happening. So some folks that are prone to seizures may have some of those vital sign indications first that something's going to come on, and there may be something that we can do as a team to help them actually prevent the seizure or the fall.
Do we have a topic?
No, we can try it at the end.
Okay. So has anyone ever seen this before? Let's see. Yep. Okay. So a lot of you are familiar. This is called the Dose Flip. This is a medication dispenser that we get through the company called Dose. This one has an adaptive stand if you need it, but I'm going to take it out to showcase. This tray has 14 slots, so it can either be up to 2 weeks, or if I take medication 2 times a day, then it would be a week's worth. They also have a slot that has bigger spaces, so it would be just 7 slots if I needed bigger slots for a larger amount of medication. This is quite user-friendly. What I would have to do is just twist off the lid, and then I can program it and to schedule the time I'm taking my medication. Once it's scheduled, you don't have to do anything else with it. It should be ready to go every time. It has a little tray in here. We are fortunate by us, we have a pharmacy that is willing to fill these for us. And so that's like a big perk that we have. I don't know how far they're willing to mail. But so these trays, you can get multiple trays to the company, and they have like the plastic lids. So if you have somebody at Natural Support or whomever could fill this for them. And then you put it in. And then I'm gonna screw the lid on. It does come with the ability to lock the lid. So if I needed that to be locked and it was approved, so Health Human Rights Committee and all that good stuff, I can lock this as well if need be. And so what happens when it's time to take my medication, this will alarm and it will rotate to the next slot. So if I happen to have forgotten my medication this morning, it's not going to rotate to this one for my evening. It's going to go to my evening spot. So this way I don't have to worry about accidentally taking the wrong dose or anything like that. So it's going to rotate to the slot that's open, and then it's going to detect if I flip the device over to take my medication. So it can come like this. There's also a stand where it just kind of on an angle, or in this stand here if I need to flip it over. The other nice thing about this is that you can program it to send notifications through text, phone call, or email to a caregiver if the dose was flipped, if it was not flipped, if the lid was removed, if it was paused. You can do an early dispense or a late dispense. So there are ways that you can have some peace of mind that you're managing your medication, but then a caregiver could also get those notifications to check in if something was missed. This one does have a monthly fee of usually about $60 a month. There are other trays out there or devices out there that are a little bit bigger, kind of a similar concept with these slots in here, and you program it and it would take you to the medication that's due at that time. We have a few that we've just purchased off of Amazon. One of them, usually they have like a 28 slot, so they're usually a little bit bigger, but there are some options for medication management like this.
I think the difference between the one-time purchase versus these that have the monthly is this works off of cellular data. So if I'm going to Renee's house to spend the night, I can take that with me and I don't have to worry. It'll just have continuous connectivity versus the ones that are purchased, one-time purchase online or wherever you're purchasing it from, connect to Wi-Fi. And they have to be on the same Wi-Fi as the caregiver app to be monitored. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky.
And this one is nice and portable, so if I am going somewhere, I can just take the small thing versus my big all medication.
So when we look at home management and maintaining our home, we look at things like home automation. So using that smart speaker like Google or Alexa as the starting point for a million other things. So someone mentioned their lights. You mentioned your lights and your locks on your doors are controlled by your smart speaker. So yes, you can absolutely do that. You can do it probably while you're at work and unlock the door if someone shows up that needs to get into your house. You can also do things like your robot vacuum cleaner, opening and closing the curtains, turning and opening the blinds, changing the temperature in your house. So there's all of these things that you can do with your smart speaker. So oftentimes, when we think about it as assistive technology, we think about it for folks that have a physical disability, that they're not able to get up and do those things. But I also like to frame it around folks that have a really hard time establishing a routine. So when you think about individuals that maybe don't have that internal clock to say like, it's 9 o'clock, I should start winding down for the night. Well, we could have our smart speaker program that every night at 9 o'clock, the lights in the house turn blue. And that's kind of my visual cue, and the curtains close and maybe some music plays. And that's kind of my indication of like, all right, it's time to start chilling out for the night. And as I say this, I need to do this for myself. I am a natural night owl, but I have to be at work and functioning early, so I should do that for myself. I like the smart locks too. We have a lot of individuals that misplace their key or have a hard time manipulating a key. So they've come out with all different types of smart locks. Some of them have that 4-digit code, which can be difficult for our folks sometimes to remember. They have newer locks that have biometric on them. So I actually do a fingerprint. And that works out quite well for a lot of our population that we serve. So I recently was working with a woman that lives in Wood County, and she is blind, and she was having a very hard time. She'd always manipulated a key, but it's just getting harder for her as she's aging. So she now has a biometric lock, and she can feel where she needs to put her finger, and it locks and unlocks for her. But it still has a key component because it's an apartment, so maintenance was okay with this, and they can still use the key. And then her sister is her guardian, and her sister uses a 4-digit code. So it had these 3 layers of ways to lock and unlock the door, and it's working out pretty well for her. So.
And also with those locks, if you have staff in the house and that staff is no longer providing that service, you can disable their codes. They're no longer coming back and trying to get into the house.
So we think about smart plugs and bulbs, smart locks, video doorbells. Video doorbells are a really great first tool for safety too. So when we're teaching folks who's safe to come and go from their home, we can say, you know what, let's look at the screen on our Alexa or Google first and see who it is. And I'll say, oh, it's Sadie. Sadie's never been to my house before, but I know her, and I've seen her a couple times in person, and we talk online and on the phone. She's a safe person to come to my house versus, I don't know your name, but this person that I've never seen before, I'm not gonna let her in my house because I don't know her, but I can talk to her through this screen and say, what do you need? Or I can just ignore her, and I don't need any more candy bars or political ads today. They'll go away eventually. The video doorbell can also help if an individual is prone to elopement, which is a fancy way of saying they're leaving a safe space, they're running away. I always say that, my kids left for school this morning, they're teenagers. I have no idea what they're wearing. I can't even begin to guess what they're wearing, because when it's 80 degrees out, they're wearing a hoodie, and when it's 40 degrees out, they have shorts and a t-shirt on. So I have no idea what they're wearing today. But I could look on my video doorbell, and I could see what they're wearing, when they left the house, what direction they went in. So the video doorbell can help with some of that safety stuff as well. The smart thermostat and smart blinds we talked about. They also have smart sensors that can go into your refrigerator, or they can go under the sink to detect water or a flood, as well as smart fire and carbon monoxide detection. And then most of the smart speakers now will give a weather alert. So they'll just come on and say, you know, you're in Sandusky County and a thunderstorm warning has been issued. And it'll just pop up on the screen, or you can even set it that it'll say it out loud for you. So a lot of safety things built in when we start with that smart speaker as the hub, and then we can build out and add all of these devices onto it. So this is one of our individuals that uses a video doorbell, and then he also is feeling anxious about the weather, so he uses an Echo Dot, which is the smaller Alexa, to check the weather and set reminders, and of course we all use it to listen to the corny jokes and listen to music, and figuring out what to wear. So a lot of our individuals have a hard time, and I gave my teenagers as an example too, they don't know what to wear depending on the weather. So we can actually ask the smart speaker, what should I wear to work today? And it will give you suggestions based on the weather of where you are. So it's kind of a fun game to play, because sometimes I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I'm wearing today. And that's weird, you know, to be like, oh, wear black pants and a long sleeve shirt and a cardigan. And I'm like, okay, that's my outfit most of the time, so. We look at assistive technology for meal preparation. So our friend AJ here is using the Obi robot. We didn't bring the Obi with us today, but it has two switches that you use here for the individual to control it. And this arm here comes down and scoops the food and brings it to the individual's mouth. So it gives them a lot of independence in self-feeding. Obviously, if that person is still prone to choking, they need to be monitored by a staff member as indicated in their plan. But we look at all sorts of adaptive equipment, so different types of plates and spoons and utensils and knives and cookware to help people be more independent. One of my favorite tools that we have in our smart home is when we're teaching folks to cook, we hear two things. They're gonna burn themselves, or
It's gonna burn the house.
they're gonna burn the house down. That's exactly what we hear. So has anyone heard of using induction cooking? So induction cooking works with magnetic waves, and the surface itself doesn't get hot to the touch. So Renee, I always tell the story because it's funny. Renee recently had a baby, so over the summer, or maybe last spring, before she had the baby, we were like, you touch it, no, you touch it, no, you touch it. And I was like, oh, you're pregnant, I guess I'll have to touch it. So I put my hand down on the induction top while it was on, and I was like, my hand's not burning. So we put it to the test. It does not burn you, but it does require special pans. So that's the answer to they're gonna burn themselves. And then the other thing is they're gonna burn the house down. So there's actually a device called the iGuard that can be built into a stove. And you set a timer on the iGuard, and then after that timer kind of goes off, if there's been no motion detected in front of the stove, it actually will just shut the whole stove down. So you hear about people putting water on to boil, and then they get distracted and they run to Target, and they come back and that whole pot of water is like burnt, right? The water's gone. So what would happen is there's no motion detected in front of my stove, so it actually would just shut it down altogether. So that's a really nice safeguard feature.
We do try to highlight that, like, that should not be your method.
Yes.
To end cooking. Like, you should always try to turn it off yourself.
But also just using things like the smart speaker to set timers and reminders as you're cooking can be really helpful too. The smart device, or the smart speakers that have the screens on it, like we have over on the counter over there, you can ask it to show you a recipe, and it'll walk you through a recipe step by step. A lot of the recipes even have videos as well as the words built in to show you how to do it. We can show you examples of that. All right, Amy, it's your time to shine. The Gano spoon.
So a steady spoon looks like this. It's a spoon, but then it also has a fork attachment. It is used primarily for those who have tremors. So it will hold it steady while your hand is shaking. It does not have batteries right now, so it does not work currently. But there's also a guard that would help people scoop up their food, so it would hold onto it like that.
No, that's it. That's how it works. Yeah. So it's a self-leveling spoon. They have low-tech versions of that too. You may have seen the old school kind of swivel spoons. It's kind of the grown-up version of that, and it offsets the tremoring motion. Great job, Amy. Some other safety and emergency things that we look at are the hardwired smoke and carbon monoxide detection. You can get these built in to go with your Alexa or your Google or your Apple Home, systems. And what can happen is when your fire alarm is going off, you can set it that it unlocks the doors, and it maybe it shuts down your HVAC system so you're not pumping more air into the environment, and maybe it automatically calls 911. So it's very much if this happens, then all these other things can happen at the same time. For folks that maybe are deaf or hard of hearing, you can make the lights flash. You can get all these different indicators to get people's attention when those emergency situations are happening. You can also use strobe lights kind of with the same idea to strobe if the person is not able to hear. A bed shaker can be a great tool for just individuals that are hard to wake up in general. See, I need this to wake me up in the morning. But also we were working with a young man not long ago who's diabetic, and his blood sugar would just tank at night. So we were able to figure out a way to set up his Dexcom, which is his blood sugar monitoring system, with a bed shaker, and it would wake him up if his blood sugar got below a certain point, and he would know that he needs to wake up and address that appropriately. The emergency response pendants, like Renee has already talked about. Cameras, we've talked a little bit about. We'll talk more about GPS tracking, but most of those fall pendants now have GPS tracking built into them. And then there's all sorts of other wearables, which we'll talk about AngelSense here in a minute. We talked about the video doorbell as an example to see what are they wearing, which way did they go. But there's other elopement systems in place too. So things like putting alarms on doors, so you get that loud audible alarm, or they have quiet ones and it would just ding on my phone or my watch. Smart locks on doors. So I was telling you about the individual that uses the biometric, but we can go the opposite way and make it harder to get in and out of doors too. So how many of you have seen a door that has like a 4-digit code, right? You punch in 4 numbers and it's usually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, they've made them now where the numbers scramble around on the screen. So to me, I've tried to use one. It's tricky. I have to like really problem solve through, like where did the number 1 go if I need to hit that first. So that can be helpful in a situation where the person is prone to, getting into an environment that they're not supposed to, or maybe that lock is on the inside somehow, and prevents that person from eloping into unsafe areas. So, of course, when we're talking about things like that, we have to consider the rights of the person and make sure that that's an approved kind of restrictive measure in their plan. So that's a different sort of lock option. So this, Joey, isn't he so cute? So Joey is at the zoo. How many of you have been to the zoo in any recent years? It's an overwhelming space, right? So he was prone to elopement from home and in his environment. So his family ended up using the Jiobit, which is a GPS tracking device. The other GPS tracking device is called the AngelSense. So this is Joey at the Shed Aquarium, actually in Chicago, and he had a successful trip there.
Sam was really worried about it too, so it was
awesome. So we're going to talk about, we didn't bring Jiobit with us today, we brought AngelSense instead, but they work very similar to one another.
Yeah, both of them are basically very similar features. We do have the AngelSense with us. Are you guys familiar with AngelSense? Okay, I'm not going to take it out of this band then. So it's kind of like this Easter egg shape. It comes in a couple different wearable devices, so I'm just going to show you this right now. So this is a band option. They now have like a little sports bra, so there's a pocket in the back here that it would sit in. They have compression shorts also with the built-in pocket over here on the side. Or they have their starting tank top. They kind of started with this, and there's a pocket here in the back. They did try to find sensory-friendly clothing as options. We will say like the sports bras and compression shorts like just came out. I think we just released those. They also have a watch version too. So if you have someone who's a little bit older and maybe this type of pendant is a bit more juvenile for them, there can be a watch option. So what happens with the Angel Sense? Oh, I also forgot, they have like a belt, or they have like a little pocket here that they have a magnetic lock that you can lock it to your clothing and use the magnet to unlock it. But how it happens is the wearer is wearing the device, and there is somebody who has access to the app. When you have access to the app, you can invite other people. So if I am monitoring Amy, I can also allow Sarah to follow as well. I can set safe zones on here, so I can set the school, home, grandma's house, wherever is a safe zone. And then in the app, I'll get a notification when my loved one has arrived to the safe zone or when my loved one has left that safe zone. I can also do real-time tracking, so if Amy's on the school bus, I can see where she's at, or like she's not here yet, she's supposed to be home, where is she? Like, okay, great, she's still en route on the bus, or she got off the wrong stop and now we gotta go find her. There's an SOS button on this, so that the person who's wearing this could push the button and it would notify the caregiver's phone. And then the caregiver can actually talk to the individual through the device. Unfortunately, it is just one-way call, so if I'm wearing this, I'm not able to talk to the person, but my caregiver can be talking to me and say like, hey, I'm on my way, I want you to stop, stay right there. We're almost there, we see you, you're by the building or wherever. So it has that option then to provide that tracking. Very similar to the GeoBit, it's just shaped a little bit differently.
And that has a monthly fee associated with it as well.
And runs in cellular as well. That's why it's a monthly fee.
We work a lot with individuals for communication. We know that when we're not able to express our wants and needs, it often leads to a lot of frustration. So we're occupational therapy practitioners by license. We're not speech language pathologists. So, we'll help to an extent with communication, and then we can give a referral to speech language pathologists if that's more appropriate. But we do often help with things like creating a visual schedule and some visual supports to aid that communication. They've also come out with a lot of devices to help folks that have low vision or blindness or just an intellectual barrier to understanding. So this is actually the individual. She has low vision, and she actually is the one that got the biometric door lock recently. So she is using something called the C-Pen reader. And when she scans it across the text, you can kind of see that it's lighting up. It'll read that text aloud to her. So that particular one works on printed material, but there's newer markers coming out, and Renee's got it over there. There's newer markers coming out that can be used on a computer screen or a tablet or a phone as well. Additionally, all of our phones and tablets have screen readers built into them. So how many of you have an iPhone? Okay. Did you know when you get a text message, if you just hold down on the text message, you can have it read aloud to you? So think about individuals that maybe they have a phone in some way of communicating, but they can't always read their text message or understand it. It can just be read aloud to them. So if you want me to show you exactly how to do it, I will. But it's really, you just hold it down and like this whole little menu will pop up like copy, paste. So you either hit say it, or if you hit translate, you can also have it set out loud too.
This is gonna make sense because I'm just getting a random line in here, but, so I'm just running it over. That's what the one sentence said, but also the headphone jack too, if we don't want to have that one.
So play with that when we kind of have our time here. There's all sorts of adaptive things to access computers and tablets. So, different computer mice, different keyboards. There's an extension that you can have added on your computer called Smile Mouse. And you can get a free trial of this if you want to play with it because it's kind of fun. So Smile Mouse is so that I can control the mouse on my computer using just my face. So depending on where I move my nose is going to be where the cursor goes on the computer. And then I can raise my eyebrows, or I can smile or a half smile. And you set this based on what your face is able to do different types of clicking. So for an individual that's not able to do that with their arms, which is how we would typically navigate a mouse, they can try navigating the mouse with their face. So what we know about folks that have disabilities that impact their motor is oftentimes one of the last things impacted is their facial gestures. They still have a lot of facial gestures that they have control over. So it's kind of fun to play with. Like I said, you can get a free trial of it, like a 30-day trial by putting in an email address if you want to try it with an individual. And then after that, of course, that has a fee associated with
We
it.
have a young lady who's in college and she gets very fatigued quickly, and so she's been successful with her schoolwork using the Smell Mouse.
Mhm.
Can you share LiveScribe, what we're using for LiveScribe?
Yeah, LiveScribe, we didn't bring it with us today, but LiveScribe is a pen. It's a little bit smaller than like the C Pen reader, and it has a special notebook that goes with it. So you could record me today with your LiveScribe pen, and as you're taking notes in this special notebook, and then when you go back, it kind of uploads it all into a cloud. So it upload my voice, and then it would insert your notes exactly where I was talking about that subject. So it's kind of similar to like the AI note taker that you were talking about earlier for your Zoom or Teams meetings. So yeah. Some college students and some high school students are able to use that as a reasonable accommodation. I always suggest to students that if they're going to use that in the classroom, make sure you have permission to do so. Or I just think it's a common courtesy anytime you're recording someone, you let them know. So, James told me he was recording it today, so I said I will try to be on my best behavior. So far, I think I've done okay. So this is Smile Mouse. We'll see if this video will play. I forgot to test our video first. And we won't play the whole thing, but I'll... It's working.
So I am here to then the mouse goes over all
moving her
around the
face.
screen until I decide I want to land on Google. And then I can take a break, and to click, I'm going to smile briefly. There goes Google. I'm going to come in.
So I'm gonna stop there because I talked about it, which is what she's gonna do, but it's hard to talk about it and show you the facial features at the same time. Oh, go to the next slide, please. Okay, shopping, one of my favorite things. There's all sorts of apps for shopping that a lot of us are probably familiar with, but also just the availability of like grocery delivery and picking up our groceries has opened up the world for people with disabilities to make that easier. But they also, using that C-Pen reader that Renee just showed us to read labels and things can be helpful. We have another device over there called the Pen Friend, and it's meant for folks with low vision or blindness, and it comes with a bunch of stickers, and you can record a message, and then when Renee presses onto that sticker, it's gonna read aloud what that medicine bottle says. Maybe. Did we record over again?
Take one tablet by mouth twice daily at 7 a.m., 5 p.m. for swelling.
So if you think about those things that feel the same, so all the cans of soup feel the same. If you don't have a specific way to label those or orient them, you could use something like the Pen Friend to help you identify what different things are. And it comes with tons of stickers, and it's very easy to scan and set up. The picture here is a fridge camera, so if I'm at the grocery store, do I need milk? Do I not need milk? I could pull up my fridge cam on the app and see like, oh, I got a whole carton of milk in there. I don't need milk today. Smart refrigerators can kind of do that same thing. You can make lists and things for your shopping right on your refrigerator. It's basically a tablet built into your refrigerator. But you can also do that with your smart speakers. So, hey Google, hey Alexa, add this to my shopping list, and then pull up that shopping list when you get to the store or when you go to digitally load all the things in your cart. The Genie Can is a trash can that when you throw items away, it scans the barcode on the item and it'll add it to your grocery or your shopping list. So for example, I have a bottle of ketchup, it's all gone. I go to throw it away. As I throw it away, it's gonna scan that barcode on the back and it's gonna add ketchup to my shopping list. So that one just kind of blows my mind still. We already talked about the C-Pen.
And
Short text.
sorry, stop. There is another app, like she talked about app, it's called Seeing AI, and there actually is a feature on there where I can scan a barcode and it will read it out loud to me what that product is. If I can find something with a barcode real fast.
You said it was Scan AI?
Seeing.
Oh, seeing.
Ooh, well, that's not supposed to happen. I'll find another barcode.
Yeah, maybe on the Amazon Alexa. that
Buddy
question.
has a barcode.
Processing.
Unable to connect server. Oh, I'm not connected.
You're not
right
on
now.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So rest and sleep are obviously important occupations that we care about. So using some tools for rest and sleep, like weighted blankets or compression vests, noise machines, all of our smart speakers, you can just ask it to play nature sounds or white noise or gray noise or whatever color noise we're into that week. We look at, positioning in bed with things like hospital beds and alternating pressure mattresses so people don't get sores. And then even looking at the idea of, diffusing different smells into the environment, obviously making sure that nothing's contraindicated or sensitive to the individual, but we do care about rest and sleep quite a bit. Fun and leisure, so there's so many, we could do a whole presentation on each of these topics, but there's adaptive bicycles, bowling ramps. You guys are close enough to Toledo. The metro parks in Toledo have tons of adaptive programming, so adaptive tree climbing, adaptive archery, adaptive kayaking, adaptive bird watching, you name it, they've got adaptive something for it. They've got a couple different bikes. They have a special wheelchair out at one of the parks that has actual snow tires on it, so you can take that wheelchair out on the muddy or snowy paths. It's really fun. We had the opportunity this past January to go to the National Assistive Technology Conference, and I think we all got really excited about adaptive gaming. So this is called the Nintendo Flex controller. So if any of you have used a Nintendo Switch, which is Nintendo's new handheld device, the controllers are teeny, teeny, tiny, and the buttons are quite small, so they're hard to navigate. So this gray box here, you're not able to see, but it has left, right, X, A, B, Y, Z, all the controls that you have on the Switch controller. And then you can plug in adaptive switches to serve as those buttons instead. So Mario Kart is my favorite example to talk about. Has everyone played Mario Kart before or seen Mario Kart? So Mario Kart has built into it that the computer will actually just do the driving for you. So if you didn't know that and you want to beat everyone in Mario Kart, just have the computer do the driving. And then what you can do is have the green button be your gas, so the individual just need to hit the gas. And then when they pick up the star or the mushroom or the whatever, they can hit the yellow button to throw it. So they no longer have to do that driving component. So it's made it a lot easier cognitively, but also physically. And then we also have adaptive controllers like this that look more like, for those of us born in the 1900s, the Atari joysticks. But we also have, adaptive writing tools. I got so excited about that, I was going to talk about the rest. I am really big on audiobooks lately, so most of the audiobook apps you can get for free from the library, like Hoopla and Libby, they actually have a lot of accessibility features built into them. So most of the library websites are doing a very good job of explaining that now, or you can ask your local librarian. There's such a great wealth of information. We're going to skip over this. This video does live on the Wood County Board website, so you're welcome to explore that. But this is a tour of our assistive technology demonstration home in Wood County. We're fortunate enough to have a home in Wood County that's specifically designed for people to be able to see, feel, touch, and play with assistive technology. We also allow folks to come and have an overnight stay there to trial using assistive tech. So if that's of interest to any of you, please reach out. We'd be happy to set any of that up with you. But I'll let you watch, this is a 10-minute long video, so I'll let you watch it on your own time if you're interested. And I know some of you have been to the house already, So the other thing that we feature in this assistive technology demonstration home is remote supports. Has anyone ever heard of remote supports before? Okay, most of you are nodding. So a lot of the folks that we work with through county boards have in-person staffing to some extent. The alternative to that is to have remote support staffing. So the staffing available through a computer and using some of those technologies that we talked about, like cameras and motion sensors, to ensure that the individuals are safe and doing what they need to be doing. So really any level of support that a person would need that's not physical assistance can be provided by that remote support staffing. What's interesting to me, I'm kind of a data research nerd, if you will. There is a study done out of Cincinnati, Ohio, with an occupational therapy program actually, and they looked at individuals served by county boards that were known to have quote-unquote behaviors, and they would be escalated, and they had 24-hour staff following them all around all day. I don't know your name, but come on, you need to do this, you need to do this, come on, do it. That would get annoying for any of us, right? So when they took away some of that staffing and they added in remote supports, the behaviors actually stopped or deceased a little bit. So just kind of interesting to know that, you know, it is a very viable solution for a lot of individuals. So a lot of what I just talked about, like, so that remote support staffing can increase safety and independence. We can also monitor trends really well when we, you know, human staff make human errors. We don't always do the best documentation. So cameras and sensors can do really good documentation because they're based off of, you know, the smart technology. Remote support staffing can offer that social emotional connection that a lot of people are looking for. So maybe folks just get really nervous when there's gonna be a storm. The remote supports can call in and say, hey, how you doing? You know, what's our plan? You know, I can look at your weather too. It looks like we're gonna be clear, or maybe you should go in your safe place, and kind of walk through some of that. You know, obviously a lot of peace of mind for caregivers and teams. The reality in our world right now is that we don't have enough people doing the work that we all do. So remote supports are by no means a replacement for that human, you know, face-to-face connection, their, you know, physicalness together, but can certainly help kind of offset some of the struggle that we're having with finding staff and providers, so during those difficult to staff times that we have. One of the things I've really loved, we have a remote support provider in our assistive technology demonstration home, and we usually call remote supports every time that we're giving a tour, and it's the same people all the time. So like, just like you would get to know your in-person staff, you get to know your remote support staff too. And I've heard that from all the individuals that I've worked with that have remote support, is they know their remote support staff just like they would know their in-person staff. So just some other ways for learning. Sadie's doing a lot of amazing work in Sandusky County. But the state, if you're not aware, does have tech ambassadors. These are individuals across the state that are living with a disability, and they use technology and they love talking about it. So you can invite them to come to your county board or look for events that they're having. They do some learning sessions on that We Thrive Together platform as well. October 23rd. It's not your birthday, so it's the 23rd.
Yes.
Right, day after your birthday?
Yep.
It's on, remember, October 23rd. We're having an assistive technology fair at Bowling Green State University, so we have some flyers over there for it, but you all are welcome to come. So we'll have a number of vendors there, and you can learn a lot by chatting with the vendors. And then if you're not able to come to that one, April 11th, which seems like a long ways away from now, but it'll be here before we know it. We'll have our annual assistive technology fair at Owens Community College as well. So both really great ways to learn more about assistive tech. Sadie is starting the Sandusky County Board's loan closet for assistive technology, which is really exciting. So you can talk to her more about that if there's assistive technology that you want to trial or demo. And then just remember that we have those brainstorming sessions and assistive technology assessments available to you through the grant, so feel free to make referrals for that as well. And then we would love for you guys to come and visit our Twin Tech home for a tour. We have an escape room activity that we do, and all sorts of fun things. So feel free to come to BG and be a part of that.
And we offer overnight stays at the house too. So if you have someone who wants to try remote supports or technology, you can stay at the house. It's free. There are some stuff we'd have to put in place, like who would be the backup, who would be able to help out. But if staff is there with them, we are not billing the remote supports provider, so their staff can continue to bill and all that stuff. So if you're interested, come to us.
Yeah. There are assistive technology lending programs across the state, so in addition to county boards having some tech to loan out, The big ones kind of on a statewide level are AT Ohio and Ocala, both of which are housed out of Columbus but serve the whole state, and they'll actually mail the tech to you to try it and then give you something to mail it back. Have you guys done this before here? All right. All right, so that's my email address. There's also this remote support at woodcountyd.org email address. That email goes to myself and Renee and our boss Carly, so we just kind of divide and conquer and get back to you a little bit faster if you go to that email address. And we've got cards and flyers over there that give that information. So what we'd really love to do is give you an opportunity to engage with all the technology that we brought. So I'm quickly gonna run down what's on the table, and then I'll have Renee run down the counter. But please get up and play with it, right? Because that's how we get more comfortable using technology, is by playing with it. So with that in mind, the first thing I have is a knife. This is a rocker knife, so for individuals that need to cut one-handed or get fatigued with cutting, you can just rock back and forth with one hand. So I have some putty here that you can practice cutting with. That's our vegetable of the day, is putty.
Don't let the putty get on your clothing though, because it will stick.
This is called a kettle tipper, so for folks that have a hard time lifting a heavy device and pouring it, you can simply use this lever system to pour whatever liquid you have. Like a nose spoon here, so you can try scooping up some of our crushing things with you. This is meant for individuals that have some mobility disability. So you would set this on the table for coloring, for signing your name, for using your iPad. And then it gives this upper extremity, gives this upper extremity support, so I can slide my arm kind of on this XY axis. And then it has all these little caps that can pop off, so I can just use my finger, I can use a stylus, we've got a green marker on there.
And it's adjustable, so you can put a marker, you can put a paintbrush, you can put pencil, anything. And there's different attachments for your hands over there on the counter.
Yeah. The scan jig is exactly what it sounds like. It's a jig for scanning, not the dance kind though. So all of our tablets and phones have scanners built into them that will screen read a document for us. So the difficult part about that, if I have low vision or blindness, is where do I put my phone in relationship to that document? So you calibrate this kind of to the person's phone camera, and then they can feel the clip a document back here. Then I can scan it, and it'll read that whole document aloud to me.
And the last thing we have, we brought an Alexa, but I think excuse me. We brought an Alexa, but I think everyone is pretty familiar with one of those, so I'm not gonna bring it over here. But we have a pair of loop scissors, which is OT's love loop scissors, for someone who has a hard time with actually closing and opening the scissors. But we also 3D printed this handle here so that I can do it one-handed. So if I have a caregiver helping me advance the paper, I can cut with just holding with my one hand.
So how do we get some of those 3D printed things?
So most of the local libraries now have a 3D printer. So the 3D printer that we purchased was like in the $2,000 range, including a bunch of plastic. So it can be pretty cost effective if you're gonna use it. But I know most of the library systems now have a 3D printer as well. We are not skilled enough to make our own files yet. So there's a website called Thingiverse. It's Thingiverse. And think of it kind of as the Pinterest of 3D printing. So you find a file, you download it, and you send it to the printer. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, but it really is that simple. For us in Wood County, our library charges by the weight of the item. But a lot of the universities and libraries have 3D printers as well, so you may be able to develop some sort of partnership there to have some things printed. So really what we'd love to do with the rest of the time is have you all ask questions, get up, play with things, kind of pick our brains a little bit and have some fun. Did you stop recording, Sadie?
I don't know what I did.
Okay.
I think I paused it, and then resumed, and then paused it, and
I have a question for you.
about anything, or are you good?